Hey folks, this evening we have some DJI drones. In case you haven't figured that out, they're all over the place, and this isn't even all that I have. But anyway, I wanted to show you a little bit of comparison, strengths and weaknesses, or some things I like and dislike about the different drones, why I feel like each one is unique, and depending on what you're looking to accomplish or what you enjoy in the hobby, um, you might want a different kind than somebody else has. So this here is the DJI Mini 3 Pro. I just picked it up not too long ago. Maybe you've had it for a couple weeks. Still learning the features of it. Still don't have a whole lot of flight time on it. I'd say I've probably cycled all the batteries maybe 3 times. And it's been a lot of fun so far. It's a good little camera drone. I like this. We've kind of nicknamed it the potato drone, but this is the DJI FPV race drone. I really like it. One of the strong points of this that I don't think any of the other two drones have is that it flies, if you put it in manual mode, it'll fly like at 97 miles an hour. I don't know if anybody's crested over 100, but I think the fastest I've had it was like 97. And it has a really nice camera on it. It's a fisheye lens, so it's nice. It's a nice wide angle. It's really fun for flying FPV and for chasing people, like some of the guys at the RC club like me to chase their jets around and shoot some videos for fun. So we enjoy doing that. And this one definitely gets up to speed. Now, you can't keep up with a jet if they're trying to leave you, because this will only go, 97, and that's probably in a dive. So I don't know what the flat speed is. I'll have to check that, get back to you. But that's in manual mode. I think in sport mode, so it has 3 modes. I can't remember what the first mode is, like beginner, or okay, it's normal mode is the first mode, and I think it'll only go maybe 30, and it's real stable. And then you can put it in sport mode. In sport mode, it'll go like 60 miles an hour, or 62, somewhere about 60. But if you want to unlock the full potential of this thing, you'll want to set it up so you can fly it in full manual mode. And in full manual mode, it unlocks it. You can do flips, loops. You can flip it upside down. You can go fast. You can crash it, and it's pretty easy to crash. I've never crashed one, never struck anything. I don't know that I've ever crashed any drones. I'm just really careful, and I try to stay within my realm or my spectrum of skills. Here's this controller. I like the sticks controller. This is the motion controller. This is the motion controller. I call it the Motion 1. They've come out with a Motion 2 now. And the Motion 2 controller, how you can distinguish the Motion 1 from the Motion 2 is this is the Motion 1, and it has a solid trigger. The newer one, or the latest version out, has another little leg right here. So it'll have like a little divot out of the trigger, so you can have reverse. This only has forward. And then also on the Motion 2, instead of having this big button right here, it has like a little thumb joystick like you would see. Not quite like this, really short, kind of almost like a Game Boy controller or something. So this is the Motion 1. The Motion 2 is what's going to work on all the latest drones. The Motion 2 will work on now that they did the update, it'll work on the Mini 3 Pro. So I'm probably going to upgrade and get a Motion 2. I'm not a big fan of this controller. I think it's great for people that don't have a lot of experience flying, and you just enable it, unlock it, and then as you lean it, the drone will turn right and left, and as you go lean it forward like that, the camera will look down, and then same way looking up, and as you pull the trigger, it'll go in the direction that you're facing. So you can lean it and do cool stuff. Has a little circle in the middle of the screen, and it'll just go in the direction that little circle is. And as you move the joystick and lean it, it'll go places, or it will look around. And then as you pull the trigger, it will accelerate forward according to your tension on the trigger. Will determine the speed. But anyway, it's a different style of flying. I'm first a helicopter pilot. That's how I kind of got into RC stuff, and then later learned to fly fixed wing. And then drones was kind of after that. So I'm more familiar with 2 joysticks, a typical controller with joysticks. But this would be a good option for somebody just getting into it. It's a different experience. It's kind of fun, but I'm not a big fan of it. So I wanted to throw that out there. And let's see, what else can I tell you about it? Also, I fly manual mode, and you'll notice that I have a spring on my throttle. Now, they don't recommend that you would do that, because once you flip into manual mode, you're going to have throttle, and if you want to bring it down, you have to decrease the. But I go from sport mode normal mode, sport mode, over to manual mode, and I keep the stick with a spring on it. So I'm going to keep tension on it, and if you have the stick mid-range like this with a spring and you're accelerating forward, it's kind of like a cruise control. So that's what I do. They don't recommend it. I don't know if anybody does, but that's something to keep in mind. They always will tell you that, well, you need to deactivate the spring on your throttle stick if you're going to go in manual mode. And you have to click through a waiver, you know, that you accept all responsibilities of a crash and that you've adjusted that, whatever. So anyway, I thought I'd throw that out there. These are the version 2 goggles. So there's, as I understand it, there would be 4 versions of DJI goggles. This would be the first edition that they came out with. These are digital, of course, and they run with this drone. They'll also work with the Air Unit, the first edition of Air Unit that came out. There might be an update. You can run these on the 03 Air Unit, but that's what these will look like. These screw on and unscrew, so you're probably used to seeing them different ways. This is a V2 goggles. So the first goggles that they came out with, I believe, worked with the Air Units, the first edition of the Air Unit. And if you get a first edition of this type of goggle that's not a V2, it'll work with the Air Unit, but will not work with the drone. So if you want one that'll work with Air Units and with the drone, you'll need to make sure that you get the V2 goggles. So, and then over here, we'll show you, these are the goggles too. And we'll do a comparison side by side. You can see the difference in the size. And while these have the version 2, which works with the drones, I have covers on. You don't want to let the sun shine into there. You can burn out the pixels. So I have these sun covers on. And you'll see that there's a little adjusters under here that slide the lenses from right to left. And that can help bring adjustment depending on where a person's eyes are. A lot of people are different. Some people have a little wider face, some people a little more narrow. So those adjustments are kind of cool. Now on this one, you still have those adjustments, but you'll notice, and the goggles are upside down, trying to keep them out of the sun. You'll notice that you can not only slide them from right to left, but you can rotate them, and you'll see the numbers here, and that changes the focus for each individual lens. That is really important for people who have corrective lenses, where one eye is a little stronger, one eye is a little weaker, and the prescription in each lens from right to left is not the same. So you could set this one on, 0, and you could take this one over here and put it on a -4, and then adjust it however you want it. So I usually leave mine on 0s on both sides, but I'm sure that on down the road when I become a little older, I'll need to use that feature. I also like these antennas because they fold down. So you can pull them off. They just pull straight off, and there's just one way that they go back on. So if you take them off, make sure they're clipped in there and seated correctly. There's no gap. But it is nice that these fold down, so as you get them out to fly, you just flip them up and you're ready to go. On these, you kind of have to unscrew them, and it takes a minute to unscrew each one. We're not going to unscrew all of them. I have this little sun shield in here, and I put the little antennas in there, and it's a good place to store them. So just some things, some little features, some things I like, dislike, features that are good and bad. There's the goggles kind of out of the way. This is a 3D printed bracket. It's kind of neat. Holds your battery. Hold your battery in there. It just slides in. And then this is a feature of the newer, like the Avata and the newer style goggle battery. You'll see that this goggle battery plug has a little clip on it. And this newer goggle battery has a little place for the clip. That's just to keep it from coming unplugged by accident, which the older ones were a little prone to. Now, hopefully you're not pulling it around while you're flying, but if you're flying along and that gets pulled out, you have no goggle feed and you'll have to reboot. So depending on how you're flying, if you're flying in manual mode and your cord comes out, you could cause a crash. This is the Avata. I put these little legs on here. As you can see, I've got a lot of debris of grass and stuff from coming in and landing on the grass. These fold in when you want to put them in the box. This is a backpack that I got off of Amazon. I don't remember. I think it was like 69, 70 bucks, somewhere around in there. Of course, there's a gimbal cover that goes on this, and the drone just fits down in there. I think I usually put it in like this. I usually have the gimbal cover on there. Try to protect the little camera. But anyway, have these little, so they fit down in storage-wise, but then if you're flying in grass, they have these little feet that I ordered off of Amazon as well. So it sits it up a little higher, keeps the props out of the grass. That's the only thing I don't like about the props being facing down, as they get into grass or whatever kind of debris that you're flying on. So anyway, I'm probably not going to demonstrate it right now, maybe in another video. But the Avata is a really cool drone. It's a lot of fun. It's very different from this one. It has the prop guards, you know, the frame around the props. So, I mean, you could bump into something. I've flown this one indoors before. You know, you could, depending on what you want to do, I mean, you could slide down a wall in a house if you wanted to. I know some of the local SWAT team, I think, uses some of those. Those are kind of cool. But it's definitely a different feel. The Avata and the goggles too. There's 4 sets of goggles. We talked about the goggle 1, which only works with the air unit, doesn't work with the drone. This is the V2, which physically looks the same, but you'll notice, I believe it's under here. Let me see if I can show you where the indicator is so you can look for it. I think it's on here. It's going to be on the fine print, so there's no way our camera is going to pick that up. But down under here, under the lenses, it'll say V2. So if you're wanting one that'll work with the drone or the air unit, get the V2. And then they come out with goggles 2, which really should be the 3rd type of goggle. But this is goggles 2 now, and this is the one that has the adjusters underneath. And you do have to plug your phone into it if you want remote ID. So when I fly the Avata, I have to plug my phone into it. Otherwise, it'll have remote ID error and won't lift off the ground. Once you take off, you can disconnect that if you want. Then there's the Goggle Integra. So the Goggle Integra has a built-in battery pack and also does not have these individual adjusters. So I think it slides in and out, but you can't adjust the individual focusers, which I think that's a major breakthrough for some people that use corrective lenses. The only thing I don't like about the newer goggles is you'll notice that the relief area, the eye relief area, is a lot closer. Let me take these off here. I want to try to protect them from the sun so the sun doesn't shine right in. It can damage them. But you'll notice that these are a lot more narrow. Compact is great, but there's some things, you know, there's kind of a limit. So I don't like the fact that there's not much depth here, so you don't have much of an eye relief. These have aftermarket foams on them, so it gives a little more clearance. But also, these are pretty narrow, just generally. So when you're flying in these, even though the picture quality is better, even though the color grading is better, it's just a little more narrow. You don't get the peripheral feel like you do with the older style goggles. So I don't know what the answer to that is. I have both of them, and I guess they just both have their strong points. So anyway, but wanted to point that out, the difference between the different goggles, because sometimes you get them side by side, like this one. This Goggle 2 and the Goggle Integra both look very similar, but if you want to distinguish them, just look for these focuser adjusters on the bottom. And then also it has a different case that holds the battery in the back. I think you have to use the rechargeable battery that's in it. And then of course the only way to tell between Goggle 1 Goggle 1 and V2 is if you just look on the bottom of the lens. So if you're getting some, make sure they're from an honest person, or you just verify them yourself. So anyway, I think that's kind of what I wanted to point out between the two of them. I like the Avata. It's pretty cool. It's really fun for an FPV experience. It's really compact, but it's extremely loud. I feel like it's way too loud for the size of the drone that it is. It has a really high-pitched whine. And when I fly it around my neighborhood, people look up and they see it. And I don't like to draw a lot of attention. But anyway, there's that one. That's a lot of fun and has a great camera. The reason I bought the Mini 3 Pro is because I was looking for something that had that other axis gimbal, the 3rd axis gimbal. So when you bank and turn, if you're tracking something or shooting video, I wanted that to be able to be a stable screen. Now you can still adjust it in the menu if you want to fly with what they would call as FPV mode. So when you turn or you give yaw from right to left, it'll actually lean the camera a little bit so you can get that feel of like you're flying in an airplane. But these have gimbals up and down. So as you fly along, you have the gimbal set. It will self-adjust it on the horizon as you, I believe it even in manual mode. So that's a nice feature about this versus like a custom build drone. This one also will do the same thing. It's going to adjust like that, but it doesn't have any side-to-side gimbal or stability. So they each have their strong points. They each have their weak points. You know, one is not really a substitute for the other. My wife will always ask me, she said, now this new drone, what is it going to accomplish? And is it going to replace your other drones? I said, well, don't misunderstand me. This is not a replacement. This is just a whole nother experience, you know. But anyway, I wanted to kind of demonstrate a few of the strong points and weak points that I like and dislike about the different drones. I like the Mini 3 Pro because it's really quiet. It has the best flight time of all of them. It's probably the slowest of all these drones that are sitting here. If I'm going to shoot something that's fast or just want to thrill-seeking experience and fly in manual mode, that's the one I like to do it on. If I'm going to fly in a close quarter area, I think I have another video that's on where I was flying in the woods one time, just kind of having fun. That's a really fun one to do it with, other than it's kind of loud. And I feel like that one is actually louder than the FPV race drone. So I've purchased a decimal meter. We're not going to do it right now in this video. I don't want it to be too long, but at some point I'll throw a decimal reader on all three of these, and you can kind of see just how much quieter that one is and how loud the Avata drone is. So if you want fast, that's the one. If you want close quarters, that's the one. If you want quiet and long flight time, that's the one you want. So hopefully that helps you decide and just kind of show what I enjoy and what I like to have a lot of fun with. So thanks for watching. Take a moment to subscribe and hit the notification bell if you'd like to be notified of future videos. We do upload the daily short videos, so check those out. And if you know somebody that would enjoy this content, feel free to share it to them if you think they'll enjoy it. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.